what we will be discussing in the next, Bharat, you can share your presentation.
Yeah, yes, Pawan, I'm doing it. Just a second.
So while Bharat does that, Taxilla is in the business of tax and regulatory compliance reporting since 2015. We are a US-based company with major operations in India. And we also have our e-invoicing solution operates in many countries now. We have a few African countries. We have GCC in KSA, and we are going to work with all other GCC countries as well. And at the same time, we will be working with European nations and so forth. So initially, I would like Amit to set the tone for this, set the agenda. And once Amit sets the agenda, we will go towards discussing the Taxilla's capabilities. And after that, we will go through the GCC requirements. And, after that, we'll go through the demonstrations, and then we'll go through question and answers. Two things that I would like to request everyone. If you have questions, please take a minute to type in the question in the chat window. We will be taking all those questions and answering as we go or towards the end. Also, once the demonstrations and everything are done, if you note down your questions and if you raise your hand, if you use the icon to raise your hand, Arun will be able to unmute and take the question. That we'll do the Q&A towards the end. But in between the conversation, if you think of any questions, please just type in the question and we will take them. Right, Amit, over to you.
Chandra, would you like to speak? He's the representative of our ICAI Kobar chapter.
Okay, Chandrasekharan.
Mr. Chandra. Hello, Chandra bhai, you're there?
Good morning to all. First of all, my sincere thanks to Amit to take the initiative of organizing this program. And thank you, Pawan and team for coming up even on a weekend, in spite of the things and in a short span. You have agreed to make a presentation to us. I'm sure, this will be a useful session for all of us. As you said, we'll be started noting down whatever the queries we'll be putting it. Maybe at the end of the session, you can do it. Wherever you are not there, maybe, we can have it later and then you can share with us so that it can be circulated among our members. Thank you once again, Pawan. And let's start now.
So that's good. So there is a chat box in the bottom. Please click on it and type it. Otherwise, just raise your hand and we will take questions. So what is Taxilla? Taxilla is about taxonomy of data. What is taxonomy of data? In simple words, every software system uses its own metadata, its own rules, and it calls fields in a certain manner or the other. Whereas when it comes to each regulator defines their own taxonomy, which is basically, somebody's name may be called as first name, last name in one country versus first name and surname in another country and so forth, right? So similarly, every regulator defines what they want to call the data as, which we call as metadata. And also, they also publish certain associated rules for that. So what does Taxilla do? Taxilla is an intelligent middleware system which takes data from a source software system and it delivers to a regulator system, right? In the process, what needs to be done so that we protect the business from not going through audits or not going through errors. So that is where we do complete integration, eliminating the manual process. We integrate the source software systems with Taxilla, and we also integrate the government regulator systems with Taxilla. So Taxilla is your intelligent middleware. What does it do more? It gives you very friendly adapters using transformation engine. What is an adapter? Adapter is converting your ERP data into the regulatory nomenclature, right? That way, you don't have to do too much development on your software. Why is it not good idea to do a lot of development on your software? Because a regulator may change what at any time they want, right? And each time there is a change, you can't be immediately changing that in your software system, because invoicing is a daily operation, correct? So you want to have minimal change in your ERP, whether you are using Sage ERP, Microsoft Dynamic ERP, whether you're using SAP, Oracle, minimize the change. Hence, using adapter without much change on the ERP side, send the data to Taxilla. Taxilla, let the Taxilla handle change, because that is what we are good at, handling fast development and handling change. And after that, we validate your data, validate against many rules. And then we apply computational rules, which is basically trying to calculate the right values for reporting. What are the main things? We are a SOC 2 compliant system, which basically means we are highest standards that are provided for security and ensuring your data protection. This is the highest certification, and we are compliant with that. We do vulnerability and penetration testing process, every third party based. We are an ISO certified company. We are partner with the Oracle is our partner. We are preferred partner of SAP for e-invoicing. We are partners with a lot of other ERP companies, right? We are also partners with system integrators and others. We offer both B2G e-invoicing and B2B invoicing. Bharat will cover a little more in detail as we go forward. Next, Bharat. So another way of looking at it, as you will see, what is happening across the world is people are moving from post-transaction compliance reporting. What does that mean, right? You do your business for 1 year or 1 month or 6 months, and then after each quarter or each year, you report to the government that this is how much business that we have done. So in Saudi Arabia, in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, right now, how you do your VAT reporting? You do your business. At the end of the month, you put all your sales totals and everything in a report and submit that report to the government agencies. And whenever the government agency wants to, they can come and audit. So this is a system where you're a declaration-based system. Once you declare, the government may randomly come and audit, wherever they want to. And that's an audit-heavy kind of system, which world has gone through in the last 80-100 years. Now, what is happening across the globe is something called as clearance-based system. Now, what is clearance-based system? Whenever you are doing your business, you report that transaction to me. I will clear that transaction, or I will give you a transaction number. And with that transaction number, you issue the invoice to the counterparty. So that is how transaction recording is happening, or transaction recording and clearance is happening. Now, what happens in clearance-based system is once you clear a transaction, as a transaction is there with the issuer, in this case, the seller, the government agency, in this case, ZATCA, and the transaction is there with the counterparty, which is the customer. So B2B and B2G are consistent. Now, this is very good in a positive scenario, in a positive use case. But where there is a failure of a transaction, or where there is a delivery mismatch, where you have a need to issue credit notes and debit notes, what happens is each transaction has to be, again, the credit what happens is each transaction has to be, okay, we have more people joining, and there is some of them have to be muted. So keep Arun, keep a tab on having all of this, then the speaker muted, right? Thank you. So so the important point here is record-based compliance has to be consistent between two businesses and the ZATCA. And each negative transaction which has to be corrected may have credit notes and debit notes. A combination of original invoice and credit note and debit note have to add up as consistent. Now, so is clearance just enough, or do you need to have a record to reconcile to reporting system? Very soon, you will realize that your VAT reports will also be modified, wherein you have to report all your sales and purchase data and not just a pre-compiled report. So as you see, all the countries starting from Brazil and now in Europe, India, everywhere, what are they doing? They're asking you to report invoices first. And once your invoices are reported, they are using that data to see if your VAT report is consistent. So, so again, Taxilla is a record to reconcile to report system. What happens in reconciliation is it catches if there is a debit note plus credit note plus original invoice are not adding up to the government data, or to the data in ZATCA, or to the data that is there in the counterparty. So these reconciliations with exceptions and mismatch management makes you audit free. And of course, the VAT reporting that can be done can also be given here, and the professional firms who are helping you report, like your chartered accountants and tax professionals, it will make it easy for them to compile all the data. So we do record, reconcile, and report system. There are a couple of things that we will need to what does this need properly, right? This needs a business to collaborate with their tax professional, right? That is where collaboration is important. This requires multi-tenancy. Why does it require multi-tenancy? If a company has multiple operational locations, they need each operational location as a tenant in the system so that they can have proper ledgers prepared for posting. Data needs to be processed against rules, against workflows, against validations. Comprehensive reconciliation is a very important aspect. Precision reporting at any point in time against changing rules and guidelines and against changing reporting formats, you have to do precision reporting. Otherwise, it invites an audit, because more the data with the government regulator, the easier for them to find the wrongs and issue a notice. And every time, as we know, if tax filing costs X rupees, the audit costs 3X rupees, right? This is global truth. Now, reporting by time. What is reporting by time? Taxilla is the only platform, compliance platform, compared to any international platforms which has reporting by time. What does that mean? Unlike your regular software, your data, for example, ZATCA can audit for last 10 years, right? So there is a provision where your tax can be, you can be given audit notice for 2018, 2016, right? So if you are given an audit for 2018, the respective data has to be subject to respective rules and reporting formats in that time. Now, does any software in the world, that once they have updated, they will have only updated rules and reporting formats, correct? But in case of Taxilla, when you send the data of 2018 first quarter, that the rules and reporting formats of that corresponding time will be applied. So these are some great features that we have. As you will understand, we will also have some dashboarding, risk analytics, and all that stuff, which are additional benefits. But at this time, I will ask Praveen, you to take over from the next slide.
Thank you, Pawan. In terms of our customer base, we have a global customer base, and specific to the KSA, we have a vertical based customers, and also in terms of a construction or service industries, you know that it's a very complex scenarios when any construction company, when they raise the invoice. So we have a use cases where we have a complex calculations in terms of advance received before VAT regime and after VAT regime. So that type of customers and invoicing we have done it. We work with partner models, and we have a strong customer base and a partner model. So in terms of a specific to the KSA customer base, so we have FedEx, which is in the transportations. Then we have a United Motors. So almost from the financial to the trading to the manufacturing and the service industries, we have a customer base, and they are using our phase one solution from the beginning. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, in terms of our partnership, so we have a three type of partners. So one is a consulting partners. Typically, they are the advisory firms like PKF, PwC, GT. They are the people who are referring us, and they are some of the managed accounting firms. They are using our solution as a managed services for e-invoicing. Plus, we have a reseller partner, we have a system integrator partners, and we have a technology partner. So if any customers required local partners for helping the implementations or the local supports, already that type of arrangement we have. Next slide. Okay. In terms of GCC updates, so I think you all know that after Saudi Arabia, when they started talking about the e-invoicing in 2020, so there most of the GCC countries, they also planned for the e-invoicing. But typically they wanted to see first the Saudi Arabia, and they have their own ways to discuss about the rules and regulations. But now I think after Saudi Arabia phase one and phase two, most of the countries now they are also started talking about the e-invoicing part. So as you know that in Saudi Arabia, phase two, wave one, which start from the Jan 1st, 2023. And in terms of a UAE, they are started moving towards the paperless things. Already you know that they have already talked about the digitalizations of the governance part. So in 2022 and 2023, they started, they are starting about the B2G and B2B type of e-invoicing part. And soon we will get the white papers regarding their laws and how that process will happen. In terms of Oman, they have lately introduced the VAT because Saudi introduced 2018 and now Oman in 2021. So the expected e-invoicing rollout in Oman is 23-24. They have started studying and hiring the vendors for e-invoicing background. In terms of Bahrain, there also expected things is 23-24. There also they started the legal framework, how to do the e-invoicing operations part, whether they will go with the Saudi Arabia process or they will have add some more future in that. So Bahrain is also soon is going to be a part of the e-invoicing. Qatar also 2016 they introduced the VAT, and then VAT implementation got delayed due to some of the reasons because of the COVID and other impact. So there we are not got the specific date that when they are going to introduce the e-invoice, but definitely they are also going to introduce the e-invoice. In Kuwait, they started basically VAT they wanted to introduce in 2023, which is subject to the parliament approval. But moving towards after 23, they also introduced the e-invoicing. Now, why we are talking about this? The main reason is we have a global customers who are doing business in a multiple countries. Like we have a FedEx where they are our customer for India, Saudi Arabia, Kenya, and then moving to the other African countries and Europe. So today, if you are a part of the GCC countries and you have a offices or trading or manufacturing unit in any of the GCC country, you will get a single vendor like a Taxilla who will help you for implementing e-invoice in any of the countries. So that is the advantage to associate with the Taxilla. The main advantage here is your technology things. So if you are using particularly a single ERP systems and country specific rules and operations, you don't need to implement within the ERP because Taxilla will be there to take care of all your e-invoicing part. So it is very easy for the companies who are doing the business outside of the Saudi Arabia within the GCC. They will get this advantage, and the implementation time is very fast because already we have worked with you in a KSA and we know your ERP, your data structure. So for us also implementation is very easy. So to assure you that we are there in GCC for the all countries. Whenever they will introduce the e-invoicing, our solution is available for your services. Next slide. Okay, now I think you all, whoever into phase one, they have already done the phase one, and when they are coming in a wave one, so they will thought about the wave two or wave one phase two part. Here, I just wanted to highlight some of the points because what we have seen in phase one itself, people are thinking that phase one is only generation of electronic invoice, then printing the QR code for the B2C transactions and printing the invoice in Arabic with a label part. So actually, this is not the e-invoice, what ZATCA has introduced and what is their expectation. So this part, everybody needs to understand that phase one also got some of the things which most of the companies want. They are coming to us. We have seen that they have not done it. So Bharat will take care of this part. He will go in details and explain you about the phase one and phase two. So overall, what Taxilla is offering as a solution. Bharat, can you go to the previous slide? Okay. So we provide middleware solutions or applications or a platform which take care of your phase one and phase two requirement. So our solution is compliant with the ZATCA rules and regulation and technical parts. We integrate with a multiple or single source ERP. So there are companies who are into FMCG, or they have a multiple branches, and as per their businesses, they are using a multiple source system. So we can integrate with any of the accounting or local ERP or global ERP system. Also, there are companies where they have a multiple branches, and each branch they have a unique POS system which is dedicated to that particular locations, and they are capturing a data in a multiple branches. Now, there our Taxilla will help you to aggregate the data or segregate the data location wise. This will help you for doing the easiest flow from your source system or multiple source system to the ZATCA reporting. So this is how we will help you in terms of a technology. In terms of a ZATCA integration, so already we are done the phase 2 ZATCA integrations, and we can onboard your company as a EGS system. So EGS is a main concept. EGS is nothing but electronic generation system. So this particular solutions, who is going to report to the ZATCA, that is called the EGS. Now that EGS onboarding is also very important, and Bharat will explain you that why this EGS, whether you are registering your source system or ERP system on ZATCA, or Taxilla will take care of the EGS system. So there it is very important to decide when you are talking about the phase 2. In terms of our solution base, we are securely integrating with the ZATCA e-invoicing portal along with your ERP. So for the phase 1 part, it is talking about the QR code generation. In phase 2, you have a concept of previous invoice hash, current invoice hash for XML, UUID, and then the cryptographic stamp. All these things are taken care by our Taxilla system, which will help you to minimize the development at the ERP level. So here we will more focus on a product which help you to do a minimum development at ERP level. So in future, when ERP gives you the update, it is very easy for you to roll it out. So our focus is more on that part. And also we provide the data in local. We have hosted our solution in Oracle Cloud Data Center Jeddah, and all your archiving of data based on a VAT rule, like 7 years for the normal invoices and 10 years or 12 years for the CapEx invoices. So all that archiving with naming conventions, we are taking care of that. So Bharat, can you go to the next slide? So before going to the main product demo and requirement, I just want to give one highlights and overall solution, how it look like. So here it starts from your source system. So as I explained, you have a multiple source systems or a single source system. Even we have a options like if you are using SAP and you want integration with the SAP through API, if you are using some legacy system where you cannot integrate with the API, but you can do it with the SFTP, so that also we can do it. And if you have a solutions which required a manual upload, so you will give the data in Excel sheet and you want to do the manual upload. So all these 3 things can be done in a single platform. Okay, so you have options here. Now, when we done or discuss with you, first we do the transformation of your existing data. So before that, we first understand your data structure, because you know ZATCA has given a data dictionary for the data capturing. And on 24th June 2022, they have released the second data dictionary for the phase 2, where they have added the additional fields and the requirement. So first we do the gap analysis, what currently you are capturing in your ERP and what is required by the ZATCA. And based on that, we build a transformation, because every ERP, they have their own format. and you don't need to provide the data in our format. We will map it. And then based on transformation, we integrate the data. Now, when it comes to our platform do the rest of the job, like validations. Validation in two part. One is as per the data requirement and the VAT rules, we check your data. And then second is the XML related data. Now, after doing this validations, we generate the UUID, previous invoice hash, current invoice hash, invoice counter. All these things we will take care, and we will push the data to ZATCA for the phase 2. From there, we will get a cryptographic stamp for the B2B transactions. And for the B2C transactions, cryptographic stamps will be there in our system, EGS system. Using that, we will generate the QR code. So from source system, we only need a simple basic data as per the data dictionary. Rest of the technology part, whatever I have explained you, and then Bharat is going to explain you, everything will be managed in a middleware, so that there is a minimum development at your ERP level. Now, after doing these things, there are two outside of the options we are giving. First, if you want the invoice, e-invoice, what we generated in a PDF with embedded XML, you want a e-delivery, we can do that things. If you want to sign that with a digital signature, we can do that things. And also we are offering you VAT related reports in terms of a sales part. So that particular things you will get it from us. And if some company want a reverse integration, that whatever the final output, what you received, can you push it back to my source system? So that also particularly with the financial accounting system or ERP, we can send it data back to your source system. Okay, and then there are certain audit related or MIS report based on a existing data, what we receive, we can provide to you. So this is the overall what solutions we are offering.
Yeah, Praveen,
Bharat.
Safik Lakani is having a question like how to submit to SAP Ariba of client.
Okay, Pawan, you want to take this questions? Hello, Pawan, Bharat.
Yeah, Praveen, yes, Praveen, you can proceed with the response.
Okay, so question is how to submit to SAP Ariba of a client. Now, typically SAP Ariba is a procurement or the platform what SAP is given. So there we will connect to the SAP source system. That is if you are using SAP HANA, S4 HANA or ECC6 or SAP by design or SAP B1, there we have options which Bharat is going to share you to. We can integrate with the API integrations. We can expose the API to SAP, and from SAP you can push that is post the data and get the data. Then if you are using the SAP older version, that is below SAP ECC6, then we have a SFTP mechanism where we can take the data with a batch mode and then submit it. Now, SAP also provide you a cloud integration platform, which is called PIPO or CPI. So there also we can do the integrations if you are using that thing, because that is a license version you need to do. But normally, if you don't want to go with a PIPO or CPI, then the simplest way is RFC connections. So in RFC, you don't need to purchase a license, but through RFC, you can connect to our system. Hope I have answered your questions, but more details in a product demo, Bharat will show you how integrating with any of the source system is easy to us. Okay, Bharat, can you go to the... Okay, sure. Okay, so when we talk about okay, so now this part from the requirement part and the product and related to the ZATCA, Bharat will take care. So Bharat.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen, for giving more details about our e-invoicing solution. Now let's get into phase one requirements of e-invoicing. Like as you know, in case it's being implemented in phase one and phase two. At this point of time, I assume that everyone is aware of most of the requirements of phase one, but I'll just quickly provide a glance of phase one requirements and show the demo before I proceed with the phase two. Now, phase one, e-invoice in XML format, like ZATCA suggested or recommended is UBL 2.1 version with some modifications. Requirements on the PDF. And there are some requirements, other additional requirements apart from generating e-invoice in XML format. The QR code generation. It's mainly required for simplified invoices in phase one. This is not applicable for standard tax invoices. And when QR code is scanned with the ZATCA recommended app or ZATCA provided app, then these are the details should be visible, like seller name, seller's VAT registration number, and when and what time this invoice is generated, what is the invoice total, what is the VAT total. So this is the information should be there as a part of QR code. And archival period, like it's seven years, but again based on other VAT obligations, it might go to 10 years as well. And ZATCA has provided some prohibited functions, like there should not be any anonymous access to the application, or there should not be any default password using which user should be able to log in, and there should be user session management. Once the invoices are created, there should not be an option to alter or delete the invoices, and there should be an option to see the all the modifications, and that should not be allowed to change again. And all the invoices should be generated with accurate timestamps, and there is no option to reset the invoice counter. So these are the some prohibited functions which ZATCA has recommended for the EGS solution. Now in phase one, like you might be before e-invoicing, there might be scenarios where you might be generating the just invoice through Word document or Excel. So in phase one, those are not valid. So it should be generated through the EGS, like e-invoice generation solution unit. Now let's get into the demo part.
So Bharat, one more thing I wanted to add. So ZATCA has given the naming convention how to archive the PDF or XML. Okay. So there, when you are generating the PDF from your ERP or any other software, you should save the PDF in a proper naming convention, like the seller VAT ID plus date and issue time plus your invoice number. So that's the way you have to archive the invoices and also share that type of invoices with the customer. And one more thing I wanted to add, the invoice should be in a Arabic and English. Now, when I say Arabic and English, it is not limited to the label part. So if you are thinking that, okay, my invoice label is in Arabic, but my customer and my item name is in English. So that is also not accepted, because what they said that a complete invoice should be in Arabic. So principal language is Arabic and secondary language is English or any other language. So there your dynamic data like your customer master and item master should be printed in Arabic. Yeah, Bharat, continue.
Yeah, yes, Praveen. Thanks for adding those points. I'll anyway cover those things in the demo. So let me uh, uh, actually show the application for phase one and phase two. Let me reshare my screen again. Arun, can you enable screen sharing permission to me again?
It's there. I have given already.
Can you, I stopped sharing my screen. Can you do it again?
Okay. I'm making a host directly. You'll do that, and again I will reclaim that host.
Okay. So this is our demo application. And in order to log into our application, we have a forms authentication, or in case if you have, if you want to opt for single sign-on, we have that single sign-on option as well. So right now I'm using the forms authentication, where you need to provide username and password. So there is a two-factor authentication. So once you enter correct username and password, then you will be taken to a screen where you need to answer some security questions. So these security questions will be created while we are onboarding you. And once the security questions are answered correctly, then you will be taken to the Taxilla application. Okay. Now we have tenant and subtenant concept here. So what does it mean? Like if you have an organization which is working at multiple locations, or you have a multiple branch, and within that branch you have again sublocations. So you can create the structure here, and then you can actually select like if you are a super user will have access to all the locations. And if there is, if we create a user specific to that particular location, that user will have access only to that particular location. So this particular tenancy concept is going to be very important when we are trying to establish a connection with ZATCA in phase 2. I'll cover more details shortly on that. So right now I'm selecting a location, and this is the location, and these are all the sublocations which are available in this particular main location. So I'm selecting a sublocation. So you can, this is how you can select the locations of the branch where you want to operate your e-invoices. And if you click on this app, like we have e-invoices app, if you click on this e-invoices app, you will be able to see all the list of invoices available at that location. And also if you click on individual record, you will be able to see all the invoice details related to that particular record. I'll come back to this invoice shortly. I would like to highlight other points here, like with regards to integrations, right? We have various options for integration. Like we can provide option for APIs using where we provide this access API connection. Like it will just generate access tokens, and using that access token, you can establish API connections. Or we have FTP, like using, it's just simple configuration where you have to provide your FTP details, and then our application will be connected. Our application will be able to get data from this FTP location. All you have to do is for FTP, like in case ERP support APIs, so we just provide access token to establish API connections. In case if ERPs doesn't support, if it's a legacy system and doesn't support API connections, then we have an option FTP. Like you just need to configure these things here, like what is server address, what is the folder path, what is the user credentials, username and password to access the FTP location. And if it is secured SFTP, then what will be the secured key to connect to this FTP. So once these details are configured, we have a scheduler, which is again a configurable thing. Based on the scheduled frequency, we will be able to connect to the FTP and get the data and upload it and load it into our Taxilla platform. And we also have master data management, like in case, mostly in case of B2B, your buyers are decided, right, predefined most of the times. So in case if you want to maintain a buyer master, instead of sending the buyer's data every time, if you want to maintain buyer masters here and item details master here, we have that options as well. And these masters, you can also maintain your Arabic, English and Arabic translations in these masters. so that every time we don't need to provide those translations whenever we are creating the invoices. So this is how you can manage your masters. And we have user management option, like where you can create a specific user at a particular location with a specific roles, like whether he can just view the invoice or edit the invoice, or I mean, in before we submit the data to ZATCA, while there is an option to edit invoice or create an invoice or just view the invoice, you can manage all your users and their respective roles from this place. Okay. Now let me go back to our application, e-Invoices. So as you see here, we have list of invoices here, and if you click on it, you will see the more details of the invoices, like what is the line item details, and if you click on show more, like all the transaction details, seller details, buyer details, and if there is Arabic translation available, then those Arabic details as well. So we can see all those details here. Now, as a part of this demo, what I'll do is, so I'll manually upload a file. Like this will be mainly used by the systems where they don't want to go with any API integration or FTP integration. We have an option to manually upload. So you just need to click on create new process and go to this file upload and select transformation. Like if someone says like, even I don't want to do this file upload, I want to manually enter all the details and generate the invoice, we have electronic form where you just need some basic details and then initiate the process. It will ask for more details. But right now, let's use this file upload. Now, before I upload this file, I'll quickly show you the file which I'm going to upload. So this is the file which I'm going to upload. Again, this is a standard template which Taxilla provides. Assume that this is the file coming from your source system. So this is an Excel file, but our application supports all kinds of formats. Like you don't need to send us the data only in Excel format. If you are able to send data in XML format, we accept XML. If you are able to send data in JSON, we accept JSON. If you have CSV files, we accept CSV files. Or if you have EDI files, we also accept EDI files. So it doesn't matter, like whatever the file format you are sending it to us, we will configure accordingly. Okay. And again, the next thing, as you see here, this is our standard template. We will not ask our customers to share data in this standard template. Customers can share data in their own format. So all we need is, we just need these data elements in whatever the format customer is currently using. So customer don't need to change their format. Now, customers can also do batch processing, but in ZATCA will accept only one invoice at a time. Like we can submit only one invoice at a time to ZATCA APIs, but our application supports batch processing. So you upload data in batch to Taxilla, or you send data in batch to Taxilla. We will process record by record with ZATCA APIs and then send the response back to you, to the source system. Okay. Now, if you see here, there is one thing called reference number. So this is the unique number coming from your source system. Now, this number, using this unique number which is coming from your source system, we provide APIs to get the invoice status and what all the information you require, like XML, PDF, in case if you want to get data through APIs. Now, let me just modify this invoice, reference number, so that I can process these records.
Bharat, Amit has a question like, how will we know if ZATCA rejects any one of our invoice?
Yeah, that's a good question, Amit. So we have two things. Like one is we show an alert in the UI where you can see what is the error. I will cover that in next 2 minutes. And we also have event subscriptions. So if you see here, we have something called as event subscriptions. So if there is any error happen, we can just simply configure an email notification. Like there is some error identified within the Taxilla system, or if there is any error reported by ZATCA, we can just simply configure emails and send it to the corresponding like whoever the appropriate owners to correct the errors, we can send email to the owners to correct the data. I'll cover those points in next 2 minutes. Okay. Now, so this is just a reference number. Now, with regards to correction of data also, like let's say if there is some error happen, how do we correct the data? Because ZATCA doesn't allow you to modify anything once it is reported to ZATCA. So we will, I'll cover those 2 points, like when you can correct the data, when you cannot correct the data. I'll cover those 2 points next few minutes. Okay, so before I upload this file, let me show you like what kind of, let me quickly brief you what kind of data I'm uploading. Like if you see here, the reference number is same for all these all these line records. The reason is like this is only one invoice, but it has 4 different line items. If you go towards right and see the line items, it will have different line item details. Okay, and if you see here, like invoice subtype is one, which is a tax invoice. Invoice subtype is 02, which is again simplified tax invoice. And if invoice type code is 381, which is credit note. So I'm uploading one standard invoice, one simplified invoice, one credit note. And let's see this record. So there is this record which I'm going to upload where I deliberately made error of the VAT number. So VAT number should be ending with 3, but here I kept VAT number ending with 02, ending with 2. So this error will be identified in our platform, and let's see like how we can address this error. So I'm going to upload this file now. So as you know, like this is, we are still in the phase 1 demonstration now. But before we upload the file, we have to we have an option to do some settings. So that we call that options, we call it as setup attributes. So we go to setup attributes and decide a few things if you want our Taxilla system to generate invoice number, then we can auto generate the invoice number. If you select this option as no, then we expect a source system to provide the invoice number apart from the reference number, some unique invoice number if they have, or reference number can itself be considered as an invoice number. So those rules are defined, are configured when we are onboarding customer. Now, if you want, let's say if you selected auto generate invoice number, now invoice number will be auto generated. Now prefix, like if you want to have some prefix before to that auto generated number, you can add, you can give that prefix combination here for invoice number as well as credit note and debit note. Okay. Now there is something called as autocomplete maker and checker concept. So this is where like you uploaded the invoice to Taxilla, but you don't want to generate the e-invoices before it is reviewed by someone. So in that case, we have maker checker concept or reviewer concept, wherein invoice will be uploaded to invoice records will be uploaded to Taxilla, but e-invoice is not generated because it is waiting for approval. So we can configure those things also. Right now, I make it as autocomplete as yes, so that these steps will not come. It will be automatically processed for the next steps. And if you want to have some more configurations, like what should be the number of leading zeros, what should be the start value of invoice number, credit note, debit note, all these things can be configured. Now, other things what we have is about API connections. So I will cover this setup. I will cover these attributes in the phase 2 demo. So right now we are considering with we are focusing on phase 1. So these are the attributes we need to configure. Now, once these are configured, we can go and upload the file. Now, how we can upload a file? Like in this webinar, I'm showing manual upload, but if it is integrated with your source system, we will get this file from your source system either through API or SFTP. Transformation should be selected if you're uploading manually. Like if you have different set of files, then each file will have its own transformation. Now, once the transformation name is selected, you have an option to choose file. Either you drag and drop the Excel file here, or you can click on choose file and select the file from your browser, sorry, from your Windows machine. So let me save this file. Click on choose file, So this is the input file which I am uploading now. We have initiate process, and go to edit page. So if you click on initiate process and go to edit page, it will directly take you to the list of invoices which are getting uploaded in this file. If you just click on initiate process, now the file is being uploaded. You will see a success message like file has been uploaded, and it shows as in progress. It means the records are getting processed. So if you click on initiate process, you will see all the requests which are created. Now this is the latest request. Now if you want to view the records, you need to click on view records. Okay, so this will show the records which are invoice records which are uploaded in this file, not the entire records which are there at this location, because you navigated it by selecting a individual process. Now these are the records. So if you see here, the reference number is there and invoice number is auto-generated. Everything is fine. There is no error for these records. So invoice number is auto-generated. But if you see here, invoice number is not generated because there is some error. There is some error here. Now you can so this is the error we are displaying it here. Like we have done all the validations. I think ZATCA has provided around 100 plus validations. So all those validations are here within our application. So what we'll do is we will pre-process the data before we submit it to ZATCA. So this validation is done within our system, and we have identified this is the error, and this is the error with this record. So now this is one way of seeing the error. Other way is like we can provide API or again SFTP, where we can send this error back to the source system saying that for this invoice, this is the error. Or we can provide an error report which shows like what are all the errors occurred in this particular file upload process. So all those options are available. And as I said, like we also have event subscriptions where we can send email whenever error occurred. So right now for event subscriptions, I just configured one email, which is like assume that you have generated this invoice. Okay, now if you see these three records, there is no error. So invoice is generated. You see the invoice generation, and you have an option to download all the reports. Now again, all these reports, if you can manually download from this application, or we can provide all these reports either through API or FTP, whatever the option which customer is selecting. So all these reports are available. Now A3 PDF is something like which is recommended by ZATCA. Okay, I have a question in the chat window. Like, don't we need to log into ZATCA to upload invoice for clearance with the valid OTP? So that comes as a part of phase 2. As a part of phase 1, we are not sending any information to ZATCA. So I'll cover that phase 2 part in next few minutes. So this is only phase 1.
But Amit has also one more question. Like, so are the rest of invoices has been approved automatically and generated without manual approval?
Yes. So if you have seen just now, like I have uploaded 4 different records, 4 different invoices, 3 records, 3 invoices, there is no error, and there is error with only 1 record. So all the records where there is no error, those are processed, and the record where there is error, we have identified that error, and it just it is just in this stage without generating e-invoice, and unless we correct this error, e-invoice will not be generated. Okay, now a few more points, like you have an option to download reports from here, or we provide an option to get these reports from API or FTP. Now we have KSA invoice A3 PDF. This is the A3 format, which is recommended by ZATCA in phase 2. But in phase 1, this is not required. But we are generating as part of phase 1 as well. These are some custom reports. Now let me download one report and show it to you. So this is standard report invoice format. If you see just tax invoice, it has both English and Arabic labels, English and Arabic content. All the invoice details are available here. You also have a QR code, which is generated as per the phase 1 requirement. Now, this is the standard invoice format we are providing. In case if you say like you don't want to use this standard format, you want to have your own brand guidelines, logo, invoice format to be completely different, we can customize this invoice as per your requirement. But this is just standard format I'm showcasing now. Now the same invoice, invoice is generated. Now you have to share it with your counterparties, right? In case of B2B, you have to share it with your counterparties. Yeah.
So
Yes,
Bharat,
Praveen.
just show the naming convention also, how we are saving this invoices.
Yes,
Seller
yes,
name,
Praveen.
date and
Yes, friend. I'll come to that point.
And Bharat, Mohammed Asif is also having a question like, if their ERP already auto generates invoices, how our Taxilla help him in generate the report and link to ZATCA? And how about the changes need? Will you assist me in doing so?
Yeah. So that's again I'm going to cover. I would request just 5 minutes time because uh, integration with ZATCA is in phase 2. So what all the things come in phase 2, I'll just come there in 5 minutes. So if invoice is generated within the ERP and if that information is shared to Taxilla, then Taxilla will do all the validations, send it to ZATCA and provide approval and get approval from ZATCA. So all the integration process is there. So coming back to our discussion, like invoice PDF, like we can customize this invoice PDF as per your requirement. And if you see this invoice name, so this is again as per the ZATCA guidelines. Like you need to have invoice saved in this specific naming convention. Like it will first start with VAT number, then followed by date and timestamp when it is generated. If you also see like date and timestamp is specific to Saudi local time, and then followed by invoice number. Like this is the auto-generated invoice number in our system. Like if this if we are receiving this invoice number from the source system, then it will be the number from the source system. This is how invoice naming convention should be defined. I think I have a question. Let me take it. If my data upload field nomenclature is different from your standard template, how will normalization of fields happen? So as I said, like so one point, we are not expecting data as per our format. We are, as I said, like we are expecting you can share in the data as per your own format. Only thing what we expect is whatever the mandatory data which is required to generate the e-invoice, that data we need it from your source system. Okay. Now, if you say like you don't deal with B2C invoice, you don't deal with B2C invoices, you have only B2B invoices. So in that case, you can just tell us that, okay, you will not send invoice type code and invoice subtype in the input file coming from your source system because you always deal with B2B invoices. So in that case, invoice type code, we will keep the default value as 388 for you and then process it further. Or if you say like, uh, like every time you don't share the supplier details or seller details or buyer details, you can create the master and then you just need to send the code, seller code or buyer code to identify the master record. Then we automatically fetch it from the master data what we have. So it's not necessary. So in case if you say like financial year, you don't have this financial year field in your source system, you just have a date field. If you provide a rule to us, what is the field from where we can get this year, like let's say you have date field, you're asking us to fetch only year from there, we will get it. So all those rules we can write, and all those rules we can write, and we can transform your data as per the ZATCA complaint e-invoice. And then if there is in between the transformation, if there is some validation fail, we will do the validations and show it here in the application as what I have shown just now. Or we can send an email notifications or provide error report for these kind of validation errors. Okay. So it's not necessary every time you need to provide data in standard format. Now, let's go back to this invoice PDF. So this is the invoice PDF which is downloaded just now. So if you can see here, all the Arabic names Arabic names and English names are available. Now, if you want this invoice to be shared to your customer directly, once e-invoice is generated without any errors, and you want to share it to your customers directly, then we have email option as well, wherein you can email this invoice directly to your counterparty. So let me show my inbox and see if we received some emails. So you see here, there are some 3 emails because I uploaded 4 records and 3 are successfully processed. And I received 1 email for each record. So you can configure your email template as per your requirement. And you can let us know, like whether you want to send this invoice PDF or whether you want to send invoice XML or you want to send some JSON file in the email, whatever you want. You can tell us, we will be able to configure and send email to your counterparties. And the same invoice which I have shown just now will be available, can be downloaded by counterparties from this email. So so Janardhan, nomenclature, like you don't need to provide field names as per the ZATCA. Okay. Now, if you see here, here it is invoice type CD, right? So invoice type code this is. Now, you can just provide me the field name as type code in your input file. Doesn't matter to us. We just do the mapping, but when we generate e-invoice XML finally, we will keep the field names as per the ZATCA guidelines. So let me download XML report. So we have an XML report. So this is the e-invoice XML which is generated. Let me open this XML. So this is the e-invoice XML which is generated. Okay. Now this XML has, or ZATCA has asked us to provide invoice type code name as like this. So you don't need to send use the same name in your input file, but you just tell me what is the name in your input file from where I can get this in value. That's all. This e-invoice XML is generated as per the rules what we define. Okay. Now let's move on to the phase 2. Now phase 1 is all about e-invoice generation. Now when it comes to phase 2, like phase 2, it's going to start from January 1st, 2023. Again, it's not applicable to all the taxpayers. ZATCA will notify the taxpayers like 6 months in advance in order to comply with their timeline. But in phase, as a part of phase 2, in wave 1, like which is going to be applicable from January 1st, it is mostly for the taxpayers who are having a revenue in 2021 of 3 billion Saudi riyal. So for those taxpayers, ZATCA has already sent notifications, I think on 29th of June. So they have to comply with phase 2 requirements starting from January 1st, 2023. Okay. Now, what are these phase 2 requirements? So eventually, all the taxpayers who are in phase 1 should come to phase 2. Eventually, it happens in waves. When you are looking for a solution, you have to see how the solution supports the invoice generation. And now, if phase 2 is mandated, how can you quickly shift to phase 2 and start submitting invoices to ZATCA? So those things need to be seen while you are looking for a invoicing solution. Now, what is part of phase 2 requirement? Now, a phase 2 requirement again is e-invoice XML, which need to be generated, but it will have some additional fields for phase 2. Like it has some additional fields about seller other identifier or buyer other identifiers. Or in case of phase 2, we generate all these hash and also do cryptographic stamping of the invoices. All these values need to be embedded as a part of XML and submitted to ZATCA. Okay. Now, that is first requirement. And second one is hash generation and hash chaining. So hash generation, hash is a kind of not kind of hash is a one-way directional thing. It's like once you generate a hash from a particular for a particular document, you will not be able to decrypt what is the document from that hash value. So it's a one-way thing. So why this hash is mandated by ZATCA? Because ZATCA wants to make sure that once invoice is submitted to ZATCA or created by ZATCA, there will not be any modifications done by the taxpayer. So ZATCA wants to make sure that that is being followed. So that's the reason why hash generation is made mandate. Now, how this is going to ensure that invoice is not changed? Because one simple concept, like let's say if you are generating hash for a XML and your hash value is #1, even if you may add some space somewhere in the XML and try to generate the hash, then hash value is going to be different. So that's how hash value is going to help ZATCA to make sure that taxpayers are not changing the invoices once it is submitted to ZATCA. And hash chaining, every time you generate an invoice, you have to you need to also include previous invoice hash, so that ZATCA will be sure like what is the previous invoice and what is the current invoice, and that chain is established. This is to make sure that you are not missing any invoices in between.
Bharat, Chandrasekhan has a question like standalone POS system has a multiple customers and cash customers. So this is not integrated with the main ERP system. So how this will be moved into the system for compliance?
Okay, so if you are having a standalone system, right? So either you have to integrate that standalone system with ZATCA, or you have to integrate that. You can integrate the standalone system with the EGS solution provider like Taxilla, who will take care of all the manuals required by ZATCA. So a standalone system has to be definitely comply with these rules. So as I said, like two options: you either register, you directly onboard your standalone system to ZATCA to submit the invoices, or you take a help of middleware like Taxilla, so that you are complying with ZATCA rules.
And he has a comment on that, like standalone systems are in client-based locations, no separate net connectivity for that.
Okay, so as of now, our Taxilla is a SaaS-based application. So internet is required in order to connect to our to Taxilla. And again, the next point, like for what purpose you are using this standalone system, like to generate the B2B invoice or to generate the B2C invoice. Okay, if it is B2C invoice.
So Bharat,
Yeah,
I
it's for
will take
B2C.
this. Yeah. So Chandrasekharan, as per the ZATCA, whoever is a POS system with internet, without internet, if it is a POS system and you are generating the invoices, then it should be registered with the ZATCA as an onboarding process, which Bharat is going to explain. So if it is not internet connectivity, then you need to arrange that network or internet, because without registering your system on ZATCA, it cannot proceed for the phase 2. So for example, if somebody having a 50 branches and they have a 50 POS system for the billing, then they have a two option. First, registered all 50 POS system on ZATCA e-invoicing server portal as an onboarding, or use Taxilla and define Taxilla as a EGS and register only Taxilla as a e-invoicing solution to the ZATCA, and back to back, all 50 get connected to the Taxilla. Yeah, Bharat.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen, for answering that question. Okay, coming back to our requirements discussion, like hash generation, hash chain, we have seen why it is required, why ZATCA is mandated. And next is the cryptographic stamping. So ZATCA has provided certain guidelines on how to do this cryptographic stamping. So this cryptographic stamping should be done by the EGS solution for simplified tax invoices, whereas in standard tax invoices, the cryptographic stamping will be done by ZATCA. So I'll in the workflow I'll show you more details about this thing. And when it comes to QR code is already there in phase 1. In phase 2 also it is required, but with some additional parameters. So what are the additional things which are there as a part of phase 2 requirement? One is current invoice hash, like you are generating the invoice hash that need to be included as a part of QR code, and your cryptographic stamp and public key of the EGS unit. So in very short time, we are going to discuss about onboarding process. As a part of that onboarding process, we will the EGS solution or the actual application, your POS system or ERP system, which is going to connect with ZATCA and communicate with ZATCA by submitting APIs. That system should have a public key. That public key should be there as a part of QR code. And as a part of onboarding process, ZATCA issues something called as cryptographic stamp identifier, which is a digital certificate in simple terms. So that will have some public key of ZATCA that need to be decrypted as per the ZATCA guidelines, and then that public key should be made available as a part of QR code that is only for simplified tax invoice. Okay. Now all the things all these things will be done for simplified tax invoice by EGS solution. But in case of standard tax invoice, ZATCA will do cryptographic stamp from their end and modify the QR code what EGS has submitted and send the invoice back. So there is another question, like QR code in phase 2 is going to be generated by ZATCA or our system. So you have to generate the QR code in your system. But in case of simplified tax invoice, you will print the QR code what you generated in your system. In case of standard tax invoice, whatever the QR code you have generated, ZATCA is going to modify it with its own cryptographic stamp and send you the modified QR code. So in case of standard invoices, QR code will be provided by ZATCA. In case of simplified tax invoices, which is B2C invoices, QR code should be generated within your system or your invoice generation system. Okay. Now, other requirement is PDF A3 file. So this PDF A3 file should have XML as a attachment. This is the e-Invoice XML, which I'm going to show now. And these are the additional prohibited functions. Okay. Now we should not have ability to generate more than one invoice sequence, and there should not be an option to export cryptographic stamp, and there should not be option to allow modification of timestamps. So these are all additional prohibited functions, like whatever prohibited functions defined in phase 1, those are still valid, and on top of it, these are the additional prohibited functions which your EGS should have. Now, other important thing is at the end, there should be an API integration with ZATCA. Okay, now let's get into more details of this API integration. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is onboarding workflow. Now, let's say you decided Taxilla is your invoicing solution. Now, if you made that decision, the next step what you have to do is you have to onboard EGS, like e-invoice generation solution, Taxilla, to the ZATCA. Like you have to inform it to ZATCA that you are using Taxilla invoicing system as your EGS to generate the invoices. So that process is called onboarding process. So you have to onboard your EGS with ZATCA, and this onboarding process is explained here. Like first we take the basic org information, like whatever you are seeing on the screen, right? Green color is something we're expecting.
Can you just make zoom in because it's a very small font we are getting. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So in this chart, if you see whatever it is there in green, so this is the activity or the input we receive it from the client, and whatever it is there in blue, so everything will be done within Taxilla, and orange, yellow orange is something which ZATCA will do. So as a part of onboarding process, in case if you are deciding that you are going to use your own in-house system for invoice integration with ZATCA, then you have to do all the, you have to make sure that your internal system is capable enough to do all these things. Like you provide the basic org information. I'll come to this, what is the basic org information shortly. And once this org information is provided, what EGS has to do, or Taxilla, in this case Taxilla. So it will generate and submit CSR. So CSR is certificate signing request. What does this CSR contain? So CSR is it's an encoded file. If you just see that CSR file, you will not be able to understand anything from that CSR file unless and until you decode it. So what is that which is encoded as a part of CSR, certificate signing request, is your org information, like your group VAT ID, your TIN number if you have, what location you are using this EGS, and what is the unique serial number assigned to this EGS. And also, it will also contain EGS details, like what is the IP or serial number of the EGS. Those EGS details will be there, and taxpayer details will be there, and this EGS solution, it should generate one public key and private key pair. Public key should be there as a part of CSR. Okay. Now that information will be submitted to ZATCA. There is one API provided by ZATCA, compliance CSID API. So to this compliance CSID API, Taxilla will do all this process, generate public private key pair. It will generate encoded CSR file and submit it to ZATCA. Now ZATCA will validate the CSR. If all the details are correct, then it will issue a compliance cryptographic stamp identifier, which is called as CCSID. If there is any error, let's say you provided some VAT number and ZATCA says that this VAT number is invalid or this VAT number is not available, then we will get that response and we will check with the customer what is the correct VAT number, and then please regenerate this again. Now, but if ZATCA has confirmed everything is correct, what is provided in the CSR, then ZATCA issues something called as CCSID, Compliance Cryptographic Stamp Identifier. And along with this compliance cryptographic stamp identifier, ZATCA will also issue some request ID, using which we have to do the next call, production CSID. So as long as we are in sandbox, we will use only compliance CSID. When we move to production, we will generate a new compliance CSID in production, and we will submit it to another API, production CSID API. This production CSID API will be again validated by ZATCA. If everything is correct, then ZATCA will issue, if all the validations are passed, then ZATCA will issue production CSID, PCSID, which is nothing but the digital certificate. So this digital certificate or this CSID is unique to a taxpayer and their EGS solution. Now, if a taxpayer has multiple EGS solutions, so let's say you are using Taxilla, and along with Taxilla, you're also using another EGS. Okay, then the taxpayer will be having two production CSIDs.
Yeah, Binu has a question like it's only one-time process, correct?
Yes. So this onboarding process is one-time process, but we have to follow the ZATCA guidelines, like CSR generation, and then public-private key pair generation, and private key should not be exported. Public key should be shared with ZATCA. All this process should be done. It's a one-time activity while we are onboarding an EGS. And this activity should be done by the EGS only. Okay. Now we receive the production CSID. We will store it securely. We will save it securely, production CSID, because this is a digital certificate. Now we are going to use this production CSID while we are submitting the invoices to ZATCA. So that is what the invoicing workflow which we are going to see now. Now another catch here is which is not mentioned in this workflow. This production CSID, this has some validity period. Like it's valid for 1 or 2 years. As of now, ZATCA didn't define how long it is valid. So this is, let's say this is valid for 1 year. Okay. Now, when that production CSID got expired, you cannot use that again. You have to request for a new CSID. So while you are requesting for a new CSID, or while you are requesting for renewing the CSID, you have to send your current CSID which is expired, and also you need to generate the CSR again. Okay, these two things you need to send. Sorry, anyone has any question?
Or what basis me hoyi neen maatadtara paper haklartane on what grounds maatadtara, he has discussed with me anteli. Why should the finance team or anybody else discuss on the topic that is still presumptive?
I'm sorry.
ಅಂದಾನ ಮಂಡೇ ತನ ವೇಟ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತೀವಿ ಮಂಡೇ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡುದು.
Arun, I think
ಇದನ್ನ
that's
delay ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
not the question to us. Can you mute, please?
ಯಾರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರ
Yeah, doing the same.
ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸರ್ತಿ ಒಬ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರ ನನ್ನ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ.
Okay, so this is the onboarding process. Now, if you have 10 different locations and you want to maintain 10 different individual hash chains, that in that case, again, you have to do this process and generate 10 different CSIDs. So other important guideline with what ZATCA has mentioned is whatever the hash chaining we are doing, right? That hash chaining should be unique to one CSID. If you are maintaining, if you are having multiple CSIDs, then you will have multiple hash chains. We are going to see how it is handled in Taxilla. Like in case if you want to use Taxilla and use multiple CSIDs, how we are going to do that, how we are going to support it, we are going to see in shortly. Now this is on the onboarding process, right? Now let me go back to the invoice. Let me go to the invoicing workflow. Now, before I start the invoicing workflow, you just remember that we received the production CSID as a part of onboarding process, and we also generated public-private key pair as a part of CSR. These two things are very important when we go to invoicing workflow. Now, in the invoicing workflow, again the same convention. The green represents the client system, blue represents Taxilla, and then yellow orange represents ZATCA system.
Bharat,
Okay.
Parviz has a question. You got it right.
Yes. So, so who are all eligible for phase 2 starting from January 1st, 2023? So what ZATCA has mentioned is anyone who is having annual revenue of more than 3 billion Saudi Riyal in 2021. That's the baseline they took, and it's ZATCA is notifying the taxpayer 6 months in advance. Like if you didn't receive any notification from ZATCA about phase 2, it means you are still in phase 1 and you have to wait for ZATCA to notify for phase 2.
And next to him, Musaffir has also a question.
Yes, additional requirements with effect from January 1st, 2023. Yes, that is what we are discussing now. So I think, Praveen, we are going to share this presentation, right, after the webinar?
Yes.
Yes. So slide before this contains all the list of additional things which are effective from January 1st, 2023. Now, let's come to this invoicing workflow. So first we receive the data from the source system, client system. We do all the transformations and validations. So this is another advantage why someone should go for EGS solution like Taxilla. Okay, so ZATCA has provided around 100+ validations. Now, if you are trying to do 100+ validations in your ERP or your in-house system, then it's going to be a maintenance nightmare for you. Like those validations keeps on changing. So as per some survey, it is observed that invoicing rules are getting changed at least 4 or 5 times in a year. Whenever the rules changes, you have to change all these validations. But if you go with a solution like EG Taxilla, we will take care of the validations or rules whenever the change happens. Now we do all the validations whatever ZATCA has provided, and once all the validations are passed, we prepare the e-Invoice XML as per the ZATCA guidelines. Okay. Now, as per ZATCA guidelines, the syntax has to be followed as per DUBL 2.1. Now we follow the syntax and generate the e-Invoice XML. And once the XML is generated, our Taxilla our application EGS application has to do invoice hashing, cryptographic stamp, and it has to generate the QR code as a part of phase 2. And whatever these things are generated, right? Invoice hash, cryptographic stamp, QR code. This need to be embedded as a part of XML again. Okay, so we'll generate this. First, we generate the XML. We generate these additional values as per ZATCA guidelines, and we embed this as a part of e-Invoice XML. Invoice hash we have seen. cryptographic stamp. Now, how we will do this cryptographic stamp, or what exactly we are doing this cryptographic stamp is, so we generated invoice hash. Now this invoice hash has to be cryptographically stamped, or this invoice hash has to be digitally signed. Now, when we are doing this cryptographic stamp or digital signature, we need to have something called as private key. So if you remember, as a part of onboarding process in CSR generation, I said like EGS solution should generate private public key pair. Public key will be shared with ZATCA. Private key will be there with EGS only. So that private key should be secured and that should be used for cryptographic stamping. Now, anyone who is having that public key can decrypt this cryptographic stamp and identify that this is from authenticated source or this is from the actual source. So that is what the purpose of cryptographic stamp. And we have to generate the QR code as per phase 2, like additional fields what we have seen, right? It should include invoice hash, cryptographic stamp, and some additional public keys. So those are all generated. And then our application will check if it is a simplified invoice or not. If it is not a simplified invoice, it is a B2B invoice, then it will be posted to ZATCA. Then ZATCA will provide the response. So for B2B invoices, it's a ZATCA mandate that you can share invoices to the counterparties or your customers only once it is cleared by ZATCA. So what does that mean? Is, so once you generate the B2B invoice, there is one API provided by ZATCA which is called as clearance API. You have to post that invoice to ZATCA using the clearance API. Now ZATCA will validate. If all the validations are passed, what is going to do? What ZATCA is going to do? So ZATCA is going to send an XML. So this XML will be again some encoded format. So our EGS solution has to decode that and find what is the actual XML, generate the XML. This XML will contain modified QR code and the cryptographic stamp provided by ZATCA. Now, your EGS solution should be capable enough to decode that XML sent by ZATCA and identify what is the new QR code shared by ZATCA and print it on the invoice before you share your invoice to your counterparty. Okay, so we receive an e-Invoice XML from ZATCA with all the modifications, and we save that XML and we generate the PDF A3 file. So PDF A3, as I said, like it is going to have attachments. E-Invoice XML is an attachment, right? So in case of B2B invoices, whatever the XML we receive from ZATCA, that is going to be attached as a part of PDF A3. And client system can receive this XML or PDF A3 file either through APIs or through FTP or manually download from the application. Multiple options are available. That is on clearance. Now, if there is any error happen, so if there is no validation, if the validation is failed, then we'll capture that response and communicate it back to the source system to collect the data. Okay. Now, the other advantage what you have with Taxilla is, since we are doing all the validations recommended by ZATCA well in advance before we submit it to ZATCA, since we are doing these validations, there is 99% chance that your invoices will not be failed with ZATCA, or because we are doing all the validations. Failure can happen only if there is some connection lost or if ZATCA API is down. That's the only scenario what we can think of in case of B2B invoices when we report it to, when we send that information to ZATCA. Now, when it comes to B2C invoices, the flow is slightly different because B2C invoices, customer cannot wait at the location to complete all, for ZATCA to complete all this process and get the invoice, right? So what ZATCA is saying is B2C invoice, you do all these things, invoice hashing, cryptographic stamp, QR code, then you go and share this invoice to your customer. But once this transaction happened, within 24 hours, that transaction need to be reported to ZATCA. So that is what ZATCA guideline says.
Bharat,
So
Amit has a question. Like, will ZATCA be able to handle this amount of information? So as such, how do we share invoices with customers?
This is a good question. Actually, I think many taxpayers ask this question to ZATCA also. So what ZATCA said is their system is designed to handle heavy loads, and it seems they have done multiple load testing also. But in our testing also, what we found is like the response time is in milliseconds. Like as soon as we submit the response, we are getting either success or failure messages within seconds from ZATCA. That is on the clearance invoice, right? B2B. For B2C, you don't have a requirement to get clearance from ZATCA. So B2C, you go ahead and issue invoices as per the ZATCA guidelines, but within 24 hours, you have to report it to ZATCA. Now there is, in our Taxilla application, we are going to do all the things which are recommended by ZATCA, and we are going to generate the invoice XML first, going to generate the PDF A3, we'll share it to the customer, we'll send it back to the source system. Okay. Now let's say if you have a POS system, you just need to connect with Taxilla through API. As soon as we receive a request, we will immediately process and send you back the required information, what you need to print it on the invoice. Now, we will provide an option to configure, like how frequently you want this data to be reported to ZATCA, like for every 1 hour, for every 2 hours, based on the frequency you have configured, whatever the invoices, B2C invoices generated within this time span, that will be sent to ZATCA based on the scheduler. So again, we have a question like
From
how
Muhammad
we,
Asif. You got it right. That is Taxilla support invoice can be issued by name of VAT group owner and member. Depends on which name contract is entered into.
yes, you can customize your invoice as per your requirement. And other question is how
is
easy?
it? Yeah.
Let me go through it, Arun.
Okay.
How easy it is for company with no ERP developers to pass the phase 2 without people like Taxilla? So again, this is a question to ZATCA. So when you see like ERP and then this compliance, both comes into different domains. Like ERP is mainly for your business process, and compliance is to follow the government guidelines, right? So it's a global norm that people have different systems, one for compliance and one for ERP. Now, other question what we have is Taxilla registered with ZATCA? Also, what about server storage space? Praveen, answer this.
No, Bharat, I think you can complete these things and then we can take this question, because your link is, people are listening, they will not have a complete link of phase 2. So I think you can close this thing with a product demo and then we can take this.
Yes. So let me quickly finish this thing and then we'll take up questions.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so in case of reporting invoices, what we're talking, right? So based on the scheduler, we will report invoices to ZATCA. And if all the validations are passed, we will just receive a message as reported. Unlike B2B invoices where we receive QR code, the complete XML cryptographic stamp, we will not receive that information in B2C. It will be just status as reported. But if there is any error, that error will be reported back to the source system. Okay. Now, let me quickly go to the phase 2 demo. Now, phase 2 demo, as I said, in the first part is the onboarding process, right? In the onboarding process, the first step is to get the information from the taxpayer. So what is that information we require from the taxpayer? Let's quickly go through that. Let me log in back to our application again. Now, as a part of setup attributes, we will provide you the basic information need to be required as a part of phase 2. We will ask all the basic information like group, not any additional information. That is the information mandated by ZATCA. So let me log into my application. Again, two-factor authentication to log into the application. So I'll just go ahead and select the location where I'm showing this demo. Now let's quickly go to setup attributes and see what are all the things you need to do in order to comply with phase 2, or how easy it is for a person who is already using Taxilla for phase 1, and if they are coming under phase 2, how easy it will be for them to directly comply with phase 2. So we go to setup attributes. Now, if anyone is only for phase 1, if you're not using, if you're not mandated to comply with phase 2, for them, we have something called as API endpoint. There will be no API endpoint configured. So these API endpoints are ZATCA's APIs. Okay. Now, if someone is mandated for, now you are a phase 1 customer, now you are mandated to come under phase 2. All you have to do is come here, like our CS team will help you doing this. Come here, select this API endpoint as sandbox for testing, and then provide this information. Like this OTP is something you will get it from your Fatura portal. In this case, I'll just use some sample values and proceed with the CSR generation. So this is the information which is required in order to generate the CSR. So we expect taxpayers to provide this information. So what is the details which I'm entering here? OTP, as I said, you get it from Fatura portal, and next EGS serial number. So you don't need to bother about EGS serial number. This is something should be taken care by the EGS solution. In this case, it is Taxilla. Common name, like in case if you are giving some common name to this particular EGS solution, you can provide it. Otherwise, this will be taken care by EGS solution. Now, org identifier will be your group ID. Okay. Now, if you have some other branch, like if you have some other branches, then that will be your unit name. Now, I'm just entering some numbers here, but it's an alphanumeric value which you can enter. And what is the org name? So again, I'm just entering some values here, but it's again alphanumeric value. And taxpayer country, it is Saudi Arabia. This is something we will be entering it by default. And taxpayer invoice type, this is to inform ZATCA that what type of invoices are supported by the CGS, the simplified or standard or both. So this taxpayers or the customer should not be worried about. This is something EGS solution will take care of. And taxpayer location, like at what location this EGS is being onboarded. So I'm just entering one location. And what is the taxpayer industry? Like in what industry this taxpayer is being operated? Let's say it's a food business. I'm entering this food business. Now, as soon as you enter these details and click on save and confirm, whatever the process we have seen as a part of onboarding process, right? All these things, generating public-private key pairs, CSR generation, everything. Like whatever the process we have seen as a part of onboarding process, everything will be automatically done. Now I'm just going to click on save and confirm. So nothing is visible to you. So everything happened in the backend. So saved successfully, it means CSID is generated now. Now let's go and upload invoices again. So in order to upload the invoices, I'll just make some changes to the input file so that invoices will not be duplicated. So this is again a unique reference number coming from your system. So again, this is I am uploading both B2B, B2C invoices in case if you have multiple types of invoices coming in one particular file that will be supported here. You don't need to segregate the data on your end. Okay. Now this data I prepared, I'm going to upload this now for phase 2. Okay. So as soon as you configure these things, it means you are ready for phase 2. That's how simple in Taxilla you can just move from phase 1 to phase 2. So you just need to configure those things, come here, upload the file, and see whether everything is getting validated to the sandbox or not. If everything is working fine, then you just select the live and data will be submitted to ZATCA. So I'm selecting a file here. Now, as soon as I initiate the process, so the invoicing process, what we discussed just now, right? That process will be kicked in, and you will be able to see these invoices here. Again, one invoice we deliberately made error. The other invoices, these are already generated within the Taxilla, and these are already submitted to ZATCA. Now, how we will know it is submitted to ZATCA or not? Like if you click on show more, we have ZATCA status, which shows whether it is submitted to ZATCA or not. Like if it is B2C invoice, you will see the status as reported. But if it is a B2B invoice, right? If it is a B2B invoice, sorry, this is again a B2C invoice. Let me open B2B invoice. So if it is a B2B invoice, you are going to see the status as cleared. So this ZATCA status will tell you whether it is successfully reported or cleared. If there is any error, you are going to see this thing. So all this invoicing workflow, what we have seen just now, right? Cryptographic stamp, QR code, everything is done. And PDF A3 file is also generated. Okay. Now let me download one PDF A3 file and show you exactly what is that PDF A3. So the naming convention is going to remain the same, like what we discussed in phase 1, the similar naming convention. This is the PDF A3 file. So what does this PDF A3 means? Like if you open this with Adobe Reader, you should be able to see the XML attachment, right? You have an XML here. This attachment will not be there for regular PDFs. So if you also see here, this is the PDF A3 format, and this is what ZATCA is recommending. Now we can customize this PDF as per your requirement. This is the invoice XML. If it is a B2B invoice, this is the XML we received from ZATCA with all the modifications. If it is a B2C invoice, then this is the XML generated within the EGS solution. Okay. Now let's quickly see hash chaining also. Like how can we verify that hash chaining is done? Okay. Now, if you click on show more, we have hash values here displayed here in the UI. These hash values, we are displaying it for the client to verify.
Bharat, just show them what is the additional things we are generating, like UUID, current invoice hash, previous invoice hash.
Yes.
Because all these things they have to generate if they are doing within their ERP system.
Yes. Apart from the cryptographic stamp, like this UUID is something which has to be generated within the EJS, and hash value. Like if you have current invoice hash and previous invoice hash. So previous invoice hash, it is starting with 590C8. So this should be the invoice. This should be the current invoice hash of previous invoice. So let me go back to this. Let me go to this another invoice. It should have current invoice hashes something like this. Let's see that if it is there or not. Okay, so these things are not to be displayed in the UI, but we are showing it here just for your reference. So if you see here, current invoice hash is something 590C8. So this how hash chaining is going to establish. Though you upload bulk batch data into our system, we process all the records and build this hash chain and submit it to ZATCA. Okay. Now we generate UU. Now we'll from this invoice PDF, what we'll do is we'll download this XML and see what are all the additional things we have done. So I'm saving this attachment. Now, the naming convention for XML is also same, like it has to be followed as per the ZATCA guidelines, like VAT number, timestamp when it is generated, and also invoice number. Like you might have got a doubt, like we have used backslash, but if you are seeing here, it's underscore. Again, there's a ZATCA guideline in the naming convention. The backslash should be replaced with underscore. Okay. Now I'm going to open this XML and show you what are all the additional things which are done to this XML. Now, if you see this, you have something called as UBL extensions. In these UBL extensions, this will not be there in the generation phase. This will be there in the phase 2 integration phase, where you have to add your invoice hash, your signature value, and your digital certificate, and some properties related to your digital signature, like what is who has issued this digital signature, what is the serial number in the digital signature. So these are all the information which should be decrypted from the production CSID, which is issued by ZATCA, and keep it as a part of invoice XML. Okay, and if you scroll down, we have additional things like UUID and invoice counter value ICV 19. So this is the sequence number which will be generated within our application. UUID is also generated within our application. So this value cannot be reset as per the ZATCA guidelines. And you have PIH. So this is the previous invoice hash value. If you see here, like this is matching with the value what we have seen in the UI. And this is the QR code. Like this is in a encoded format, but this has to be decoded, converted into graphical form and displayed it on the invoice PDF. So whatever the PDF you are seeing, whatever the QR code you are seeing it here, right? This is a kind of a graphical form of that particular uh, uh, QR code what we are seeing it in the XML. So this is on the phase 2. Praveen, you
Bharat,
any
yeah,
points to add?
Bharat, can you show? Yeah, Bharat, can you just show quickly on ZATCA sandbox credentials how this particularly we submitted and the reference to just give the confidence to the participant?
Yes, yes.
Show the B2B
That's, yes. So let me log into ZATCA sandbox environment and upload this XML and show it to you, like whether this is a valid XML or not. Because right now what we have seen is that something XML which is generated in our system, and we are telling everything is completed, but how are you sure about it? So that is where we'll submit this XML to ZATCA and show it to you it's a valid XML. Praveen, while I log into that, in case if you want to answer any questions, you can answer. You can answer those things from the chat. Okay, I'm downloading this invoice XML.
And also show the API and XML, both options show uploading the JSON payload.
Yes.
Praveen,
So
are you
this
going
is-
to answer? So we have passed at Amit's question, like is Taxilla registered with ZATCA?
No. Yes. So basically, Taxilla, we have a local partner, 3 partner, and they have registered our solutions on ZATCA for this phase 1 and phase 2. And using that, we are getting this credentials. So to answer this thing, yes, our partner is registered on a ZATCA solution provider using our technology. Now, how does the sales return are handled in e-invoice era? Tax invoice will be reversed by the system, where by the goods will be updated and revenue will be reversed. See, as per the advisory and operational part, I think Amit will address this. But in terms of e-invoicing, so credit note and debit note is majorly used for cancellation of the invoice, return of goods, or any discounting related things you need to use. So if it is a sales return, then I think you have to enter the original invoice number and a reason for the credit note. That way you can do it. Okay, so Bharat, you can go ahead. The rest of the questions we will take after this part.
Yes. So right now I logged into web portal provided by ZATCA, wherein you can just upload your XML and then validate whether it's correct or not. So I am here. So you come here, text. Now it's asking us to upload the XML. I'll upload the XML which is generated just now. And validate. I think this is validated. No, this is going to be work only for B2B invoices. So I think I uploaded B2C invoice. Let me go and upload B2B invoice. So this is the B2B invoice. Yeah. So whatever the offline tool ZATCA has provided, right, like web portal to validate the XMLs, that will be validating only B2B invoices, not B2C invoices. So that's the reason why you are seeing errors there. Now I download another XML. So see here the B2B invoice which is submitted, validation complete and no errors found. So this is the XML we generated. So we are generating XMLs as per the ZATCA guidelines. Now let's quickly show you the APIs also, like API integration sandbox. So they have provided different APIs, like reporting API for B2C we have seen just now, clearance API for B2B we have seen, and compliance CSID API to generate to submit the CSR and get CSID, production CSID to get the actual digital certificate from production, and in case if production CSID is expired, we have to do this API to get the renewed CSID, new CSID. And this compliance invoice API to check whether invoice is compliance or not. This is another additional API option provided by ZATCA. Now, if you see this, let me quickly go through what is this API is expecting. So I'm just showing you the reporting API. Okay. Now it is expecting authentication certificate. This is nothing but the production CSID as a part of headers. And it's also expecting these values. Like we have to submit these values in JSON form to this API. Like one is invoice hash, other one is UUID, what we have seen just now, it is being generated within the Taxilla. And this is your invoice. Like you see here, like this is actually the invoice in base64 encoded format, right? So it's not just simply directly submitting the invoice to ZATCA. So you have to convert the invoice to base64 encoded format and submit it to ZATCA like this. So this is all being done within Taxilla, and this is on reporting API. Like we will get a response, like if it is passed, we'll just get a status as reported. So this is what we are showing it in the UI as a ZATCA status. It's a reported or not. Now, if there is any error, we will show the error message. Let me quickly show you the clearance API also to understand the difference. Now, in case of clearance API, it's again the same thing. We have to pass production CSID for authentication. And once that is done, we have to submit invoice XML like this, like invoice hash UID. And this is the actual invoice XML converted to base64. And if everything is passed, you will get a status as cleared, and ZATCA will provide you cleared invoice. Okay. This cleared invoice is again in base64 encoded form. Taxilla as a EGS is saving this information and converting this base64 encoded file to XML and attaching it as a part of PDF. So whatever the XML you are seeing here, right? So this is the XML we received from ZATCA in case of B2B. But this is B2C invoice, what you are seeing. This is the XML what we generated within the Taxilla. So that is the difference between B2C and B2B. And yeah, that's all I have from my side, Praveen.
No, Bharat, just show B2B, upload the JSON and match with our previous invoice hash.
Okay, I'll do that. So
that will make them more confident that yes, we have done the integrations and we started implementation also.
okay.
So just copy that JSON payload from the UI and upload.
Praveen, that app is updated. You will not get the JSON payload directly because that's not required, right? For user to see.
Okay. So they have updated the version.
Yes, they have updated the version. That's not available on the UI. But I can just like we are doing this, Praveen, like we got the response as cleared, right? So that itself is indication that I can show you the ZATCA response what we received that is still there on the UI. Let me go back there. So this is our invoice, what we are verifying now. So as soon as this invoice is submitted to ZATCA, everything is valid. We receive the status as cleared. But from where we are getting this status as cleared, that is something we are getting it from the ZATCA response. So I mean, just for the demonstration purpose, we kept this ZATCA response here in the UI, but on the live, you don't expect this information to be available. I'll just show you the ZATCA response. So this is the ZATCA response. Okay, they are sending the response in JSON format. Now I'll just show you this JSON format again. So this is the response we received from ZATCA. So what does it contain? It contains all the security information and along with the clearance status as cleared. And this is the cleared invoice. Okay, so that's what we are seeing on the ZATCA portal also, right? Just now on the ZATCA portal. So this is what the response they're sending it to us. So that response we are capturing it and decoding the required information from this response and providing it to the taxpayer on the PDF or in the invoice XML. Yeah, Praveen.
Yeah, I think from your side is done, right?
Yes, let me, I just have few points, quickly cover these things and then it's done. I'll just not take more than 1 minute. Now, why someone should go for a EGS instead of building this solution in the ERP or their in-house solution? One is the reduced implementation cost. Now, as you have seen, there are so much guidelines recommended by ZATCA. It's not only ZATCA, it's going to be in all countries wherever you are. So, but with Taxilla, it's going to be a simple simple API integration, the APIs. Then rest everything will be taken care by Taxilla. So there is a implementation cost reduction. And every time there is a rule change happens from ZATCA, you don't need to bother whether what changes you need to do because we are taking care of it. So you are having zero non-compliant risk, and we are doing all the validations. What this is very important. If you don't do validations, submit it to ZATCA, then all the records get rejected, then you will definitely come under ZATCA auditing. That's what we are putting an advantage by doing all the validations. And our solution is automatically scalable. Like if you have more number of invoices coming in, our infrastructure is such that it can be automatically scalable and support high load. That's quick thing. And not only in KSA, like we are in other countries, we are going to launch in other countries also. There's a quick roadmap of what we are going to do in this year. Mainly in the European and Latin American countries. Yeah. Now we can take questions, Praveen.
Yes. I think you can share, take one by one questions.
Yes.
Yeah, Arun.
Yeah, I'm here. Praveen, we have stopped at Amit's question. Like, so he asked for also what about the server storage space and how sure about the securing the data passed through our server?
See, yeah. So our servers, like when it comes to data storage, we are complying with ZATCA guidelines. It is in Oracle Zeta, and whatever the process is happening is from the Oracle Zeta server only. So you will not see any performance issues as KSA is also ZATCA APS is also on Oracle server. Storage space, like if you are looking for archival, like we have, like Praveen we can reach out to Praveen. He can share you all the pricing details. Like if you want to archive for 1 year, 7 years, 10 years, what's going to the cost of it? And the next question is about security, right? So with regards to security, we have already mentioned in the beginning, like we are SOC 2 compliant, we are ISO certified, and also our application will regularly go through third-party VAPT testing. They do all the vulnerability and penetration testing. And most of the, large consulting firms will use our application, are using our application as a white label platform. And also most of the MNCs are certified, their internal security team certified that Taxilla platform is secured enough to connect with their systems. So all those things are in place for us. So ours is secured environment. Now the next question is, this is from Musavir. Once invoices are stored, how to identify ZATCA approved and simplified? So simplified invoices are to be uploaded separately for approval. So as I said in the workflow, like once the invoices are reported to ZATCA, like in case of simplified tax invoices, we will get a status as reported. Okay. Now we can send an email notification, like since the volume is going to be more, if there is no issue, we will not send, we can configure that we will not send any notifications. But if there is some error with any B2C invoice, we can send email notification to the corresponding party saying that there is some error. Now, how long does your solution take to implement? Time period? We have Dynamics AX as our ERP. So Praveen, you want to answer this question?
So basically, Amit question is there. So it is depends on your setups and infrastructure. So approximately it starts with the 4 weeks to 8 or 10 weeks, depends on how much solutions you are using and how much onboarding we need to do and how we can integrate with your system. So it depends on that. For minimum, you can consider it is a 4 weeks time. And if you have a Dynamics AX, we can integrate with the Dynamics AX through API also, or SFTP also. So we will discuss on this separately for the integration part.
And Praveen,
Can
Amit
we-
has this another question also. That is, what is better, build the adapter in our software or go through Taxilla? What is added benefit to
Yeah.
go with Taxilla?
See, if you are building the adapter, that is good enough because it will be specific to the AX, and in future, if any change management coming from the AX side, it will be the easy part to you. And advantage, as I told you, that if you are building everything in AX without Taxilla AGS, for you in a future to update or upgrade the AX part, it's very difficult because you had done the customization out of the scope, out of the box type of things. So advantage here in Taxilla is the you will focus on your business and not in the compliances, because any change happen, then you have to run for that change management in ERP. But if it is a Taxilla, then you can believe and you can trust on Taxilla, and Taxilla will do it, and you can continue your business.
And
Uh,
other question is from Surya Prakash. So can we
yeah,
go?
that we have answered, na?
We have answered
Can we
for
go with
Taxilla.
Taxilla? Okay, okay.
Sales
So
return you have
can
answered.
we? Yeah. Can we go with the Taxilla only for consultation for implementation of second phase invoicing, and or our internal IT teams will do the required changes? That we can separately discuss on these things. Base, we need to understand what are the expectation from your side, because generally we provide the solution for these things. And the consultation, what type of consultation you required, we can have a separate call to understand on this. Then
Again
have
from
you done
Amit.
the mock?
That API through a JSON. So is it easy, right? And you can answer.
Yeah. So your data is in JSON. So if you share JSON, yes, we will share the JSON payload. We can give you Postman collections plus payload, so that your developer can be easily understand, and we can help in terms of understanding technical and functional part.
The question is from Chandrasekhan. Have you done the mock test for phase 2?
Yes. So I had told you that we already got the credentials. We onboarded our solutions on ZATCA, and we completely done the phase 2 testings with all the business scenario. And also few prospects, we have done the POC part also. We are in a advanced stage where we are going to start the implementation, because they have a very big setups and a multiple locations, so they need minimum 8 to 12 weeks. And then ZATCA response will be in Arabic, or it will include the English in case rejection for modification. I think, Bharat, it is only English, right? They are not
Yes.
giving
As of
any
now,
response in
yes, Praveen. As of now, their APIs are giving response only in English.
Yeah. In Taxilla, can we have invoice number save as our ERP? Yes, Safik. So here we have a two option. Some company, they say that I am using a multiple sequential numbering. So in that case, phase 2, the hashing will be the challenge. So what we do, we maintain the sequential number behalf of them and do the hashing. But if you are maintaining sequential invoicing number single, then yes, we will maintain your things and your invoice number get reported to the ZATCA. Then how we can cancel an invoice due to change in destination of the goods? Bharat?
So once an invoice is reported to ZATCA, there is no, we cannot do any changes. It's just that we have to issue a new invoice again with the latest changes. So existing invoice, which is already submitted to ZATCA, cannot be modified.
Do your system support Microsoft Navision? So in demo, we have shown that ours is a platform which provides integrations options readily available. So it may be a local ERP or accounting system or Microsoft Navision. We have a two options. If we will expose our API where your IT team can post and get the data from the Navision, or if Microsoft or any other ERP is exposing the API, we can use that things. Suppose API is not possible in Navision, then we can have a SFTP. So we support all the accounting and ERP system as long as they are exposing they are okay with the API or SFTP. What is the slab rate of yearly return turnover for e-invoicing mandate? I couldn't get. No, basically, ZATCA has not given the wave 2 slab. So if you go to their notification or news, they say that for wave 1, 3 billion Saudi Riyal VAT revenue. And for wave 2, they are going to tell advance before 6 months what will be the threshold limit and what will be the rate date. So maybe if it is a 6 month, then second wave should be in a June 23, but we don't know the threshold limit, whether it is a 1 billion, 50 million, that we don't know. I think we answered all these questions. So Pawan, Bharat, and Amit, you have anything? Because from our side, we have done with the presentation and answering the questions. So Amit and Chandra.
So question from Amit, like how do we reach out to you for any further queries or help?
Yeah, so we will share the data with, we will share our credentials with ICAI, Amit and Chandra. So you can directly reach with them, or you can connect on us with our email ID, sales@taxilla.com, and our mobile number. Also, we are going to share our presentation and required detail with Chandra and Amit, and I think they will share it with you. And if you have any questions, we can definitely connect separately along with the ICHR team member.
And Shamir has a question like, how is your billing?
So basically, we have a two part. One is a annual subscription fee, which based on your number of transactions, and second is the implementation fee, which covers onboarding, integrations, designing. So Amit and Chandra, you want to close this webinar call?
Thanks, Praveen. Yes. Amit, you can also add it. Thanks, Praveen. Actually, it's a wonderful, explanation from your end in terms of the product, how phase 1 and phase 2, how it has been taken up and what are things you have done it. My suggestion is, whatever relating to the few points in relating to the product and how it is going to be, in terms of getting it migrated or integrated with the system, what is the cost expected and what is the timeline expected. So it can be made it as a one sort of a document, send it to us so that it will all be easy for us to take it up with our management and then to discuss it, anything is required. So this can also be helpful for us. Okay, number one. Number two, also whatever the FAQs which you feel, which can also be, which has been discussed, if you can also put it into one of the, sort of a document and then share with us so that whatever people have missed out or something, they can also just go through it.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. Whatever the questions we have, we can clear the FAQ.
One quick question in terms of the support, what is the, your team or how you have been, team has been supporting for the KSA thing, whether, what is that normally, when, if somebody is having issues or anything, what is the timeline or something within that you will be getting it responded, or how you are going to handle it, so that also can give a fair idea to the people before moving forward on that.
Yeah, definitely.
And,
so we have a, yeah.
And one more suggestion, if any other members who are having any queries can share with me or Amit, so that we can also compile it. Whatever, based on your today's, after the listening it, you may come up with some queries. It may not be, possible for us everything to put immediately on that. So think about it in case anything comes over in the next couple of days. Let's say let us up to say Monday or Tuesday, let us have a cutoff time. So whatever it comes in our mind, just to send it to us so that we can compile it as a one document. We can also share with them. We can put our, saying that these are all the requests which has come from the people, and they can also revert back on it. Thank you so much again, Praveen.
Okay, thank you very much, Chandra. Thank you, Amit, for your support. Thanks, ICAI
Thank you,
Khobar.
everyone.
Please, thank you. Bye.